Hello and welcome to another episode of my podcast, which is called A Cuppa with Anna. It's been a couple of weeks now since I've done one, so it's good to get back on here. Today I'm joined by Louise McMilan. Louise not only found the positive in having a breast cancer diagnosis, but it's also made you view yourself and life a lot differently, hasn't it, Louise?
It has indeed, yes.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for the invite.
Thank you for joining me. Now, I know we met on one of the Bristol networks, didn't we, over lockdown?
Yes, we did. Yeah, one of Nick Elston's sort of, one of his Monday morning ones, which I think you've now taken over, haven't you? So
yeah. I've had quite a few of Nick's lot on here now, so
yeah,
it's nice to schmooze with other people outside of Exeter.
Yes.
How's your morning been so far?
Yeah, it's been lovely. I managed to get out for a nice walk before the rain started, and I had a networking event this morning as well, which was quite nice. So yeah, still online, but hopefully we'll get out very soon back to outside walking.
How are you finding sort of doing stuff online? Are you sort of fed up with it now, or do you think you'll continue doing networking events and different bits and bobs online?
I've always done my coaching part of my business online, and I've always enjoyed doing either Skype or Zoom, doing the face-to-face rather than doing a coaching over the phone. And I think that makes it easier for me to just coach people that aren't local to me, which is really good. There are elements there I probably would like to do the face-to-face things, but I do like to go outside and see people. It was a novelty to start off with, but I have to say I've become a little bit zoomed out.
I'm totally with you on that. Yeah, it is like you say, it was a novelty, and then things change. I don't know about you, but when I am meeting up with people in person now, I come home feeling really tired.
Yes, I did. I've done one face-to-face meeting a couple of weeks ago in a local coffee shop, and I've got another one next week. So, but yeah, it's just as tiring. But I was also finding I was doing an evening networking, which is absolutely brilliant. He bought it from doing it. We had one in Bristol, and he bought it all online, which was really good. But because it was an evening one, by the time I got there, I was like, I'm just exhausted of looking at my computer screen the whole day. And so I've kind of only dip in and out of that one, which is a shame. But it's just that I just need to have some time out of the screen.
Absolutely. My eyesight's deteriorated over lockdown. My distance vision's horrendous now. I have to wear my glasses because I've been on the screen so much.
Yeah, I think I'm getting more headaches, I think, at the moment. Is because you always got the glasses on, to read.
Totally. Yeah, we need more real life, clearly.
Absolutely, yeah.
Now, Louise, obviously, something you're really passionate about is helping and supporting people just have more confidence in themselves.
That's
so
right,
obviously, we've obviously given quite a lot away in the introduction, but I think there's usually a reason why we do the work we do.
Absolutely.
So tell me a little bit about your journey into the work you do.
Okay, so my background is HR, so I've had a HR career for 20 something years, but even and that was all because I enjoyed being around people, and so whilst I had started off doing other things, HR when I got in there was really good. However, for myself, I always had this limiting self-belief and a lack of self-confidence right from like an early age. The comments some people used to say, sort of nothing sometimes ever good enough, or you'd ask a sibling something and they would come back with their opinion, and whilst there is the thing about blood's thicker than water, sometimes siblings can be really horrible at times. And so therefore, as being the middle one, I suppose I was always conscious of that. And by nature, I am like a really supportive person, and I like to see the good in people and be really friendly and lift people up. But actually what I was finding was I was listening too much of those comments that were made. So whilst I had a successful career in HR, I never believed in myself and was always waiting for somebody to pick me up as though something wasn't right. So I could sit there with the most obvious things to do, the most simplest things, and would sit there for ages before I actually actioned it, because I was going, I'm missing something. This is too simple. This is too obvious. And so therefore, it used to get me down every now and then, and my anxieties would rise about certain events, and I would spiral into depression. And it didn't just affect my career, it affected my personal life as well. So relationships and, even friendships and stuff, you kind of were always thinking, why are they hanging around with me? Because I don't really have anything interesting to say, and I'm not really funny. Or if I did try to be myself funny, there was always a friend that would go, what are you on about? Because they didn't get it, and I think, oh right, okay, I'm not supposed to behave like that or be like that. So I became very insular. And so yeah, over the years, I would say I've lost years, because as I got into my 30s, very much whilst I concentrated on work, and was very much concentrated a lot of time on work, I then realised that my rest of my life wasn't even existing.
It's so sad, isn't it, how I think things that can be said when we're younger, they just seem to stay in our heads a lot of the time.
Absolutely, yeah.
Louise, just going back to something you said just now that I'm quite curious about, and you said about blood being thicker than water, and often, like, you know, our own family can give us stick. What's your thoughts on that as far as boundaries are concerned? Because I think if a friend is not nice, or someone's, you can just kind of get rid of them, you know, and you can set boundaries as in, okay, that person's not good for me. What are your thoughts around that with family?
It is tricky, because people did say to me a couple of times, you know, you remove the negativity, and you go, you can't when it's family. And it's that kind of thing of, how can I put it? They're supposed to have your best interests at heart, because they're family, and they don't always do. And it's over the years, it's been managing those expectations, those things. And I have to say, over the years, I have managed now my boundaries with family. So I have to remind myself that, you know, if I'm in a family event, then I've got to take from it what I take from it. And just, you know, if something's not right, then just ignore it and use my inner strength to not play that, not replay it. And then go through. But for me, I always try and be the better, what I perceive to be the better person, because it's not always right. It's my perception, that I always try and do right for them. I'm always there for them, and I always listen for them, and, you know, always try and encourage them. I suppose that's my kind of HR and coaching background, where you try and get people to see something differently, and it's not always welcome, because you're always battering for the other side, or, oh, you know, no one can do anything wrong, and it's like, but you're only seeing it by you see it, and there's a bigger picture. So yeah, and I just have to sort of I have to be aware that I have to look after myself when I'm doing that.
Sure. Thank you.
Yeah, but it is, and as my mum says, you choose your friends, you don't choose your family. There's another kind of saying there that comes with it, isn't it? And it's that kind of thing of, yeah, you can choose your friends. And, you know, I have what I call my the sisterhood. I have two friends I've known for probably only about 5 years, but together the three of us are the sisterhood, you know, and we will talk things through with each other, because that's the easier way to do things sometimes.
Yeah, and it is like family of choice, isn't it? I think that you can sort of choose your
Absolutely.
family. So for anyone listening out there who might be struggling with that, it sounds like the message coming through is just boundaries. It's just about having
Absolutely.
boundaries and what's best for your well-being, basically.
Absolutely. And if there is something going on, the amount of times I'm just quiet, and I have my nephew say to me, "God, you're really quiet tonight," and it's like, I'm just observing, you know, or just in, because I know if I take part in something, sometimes I'll replay it, and then I'll be replaying it for weeks and weeks and weeks and months that go on, and I go, I can't do that. I have to do what's right for me. So I kind of play it a little bit selfish. You've got to do what's right for you, even within your family, and take from it what you want to take from it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you, Louise.
That's okay.
So moving on a little bit now to when you were diagnosed with breast cancer. I mean, that must have been awfully scary, and I can't even imagine how that would feel. So tell me a little bit about that, and then how that's changed, because obviously you were really struggling with your self-confidence, your self-esteem, and
yeah, absolutely. And I will briefly tell you how it was found, because it's really important about how my breast cancer was found. And I know we've spoken before about it, because I didn't find a lump. I had a concern with my left breast, and I went to go and get it checked out. GP didn't think there was anything wrong, referred me, consultant examined me, didn't think anything was wrong, but referred me for tests to be on the safe side. So everything was to be on the safe side. And I had a mammogram, and then I had an ultrasound, and cancer was found on my right breast. So bearing in mind the doctor and the consultant, you know, examined both breasts, I didn't find a lump, they didn't find a lump, and it was by the test to be on the safe side. So yeah, they found breast cancer. They thought it was stage 2. I called it Stan, which is sort of, when I do my talks, that's what the lesson that Stan taught me. They thought it was 25 millimeters, but in fact, when I had my lumpectomy, it was 45 millimeters and stage 3. And they also found cancer in my lymph nodes as well.
And did you feel okay in yourself? Did you have any inkling that something was wrong? Because often, when you go to the doctor and say you're fine, and you hear a lot of these stories where people have had cancer and it's been missed by doctor after doctor.
Yeah.
Equally, you hear stories where it's been picked up straight away. But did you feel that something wasn't right, or did you have no idea?
I had no idea, only because I had a discharge from my left breast, and it happened a couple of mornings that I thought I need to get it checked out. And the fact that I was actually off of work meant that I phoned up that morning and got an appointment. I think if I'd been working, it would have been further months down the line, because you know what it's like. Oh, I must phone up. You never get to it.
Yeah.
Looking back, I had literally just gone through an episode of bad anxiety and depression. So I had been diagnosed with depression the December beforehand, and I was literally exhausted. And some of the side effects they say of having cancer is you feel tired before, there's an element of tiredness and things that they kind of go as a symptom beforehand. But of course I didn't think that. I just thought it was the anxiety and the fact that I had depression and was on the medication. So yeah, there was nothing really apart from that discharge. But even then, when they did the biopsy, when they did the ultrasound, cancer even wasn't on my radar. My mum came to hospital with me, and we just said, oh, perhaps it's a blocked milk duct or a cyst. My mum had a cyst. Cancer wasn't even thought of. So when they called me in and told me that they found breast cancer, it was absolutely, I was shocked. Absolutely, yeah. It's hard to describe how shocked you are, because you're just in that moment, and it's just like, what?
Did you feel like it wasn't really you, like not really your life?
I did, yeah. You are. I said you were actually in this bubble, and I remember coming out, and my mum doesn't drive, but I had to do the drive back, and all I remember going, Mum said, "Well, you kept wittering," and I kept saying, "I've got to name it," because they talked about it in the third person, and it really felt like all of a sudden I was looking down on myself, even telling friends. I went back to work the next day. In fact, the next day I went up to Bolton on a work trip, and I told the girl I was traveling with, but it still didn't seem real. Even having the lumpectomy, and even afterwards, I had this thing of, I knew I had to have chemo. I had this gut feeling the day before that I was going to have chemo, and that was before I knew about the lymph nodes. But yeah, it still didn't real. And I was fine telling people I knew, but if I told somebody I didn't know, I'd burst into tears, because I think it was that thing of telling someone you don't know made it real, apart from telling people they didn't. It was really bizarre, really bizarre. So yeah. And even now, I have to remind myself that I've been through cancer.
Yeah. And you're all okay now?
Yes, I am. Yes, yeah.
That's
yeah.
great.
And I had my mammogram in July, and I had a bit of a delay. It was a delay having the mammogram because of obviously COVID and everything else. And then it took a little while to get the results. So when I got the results this time, it was a little bit more relieved, because it took a little bit longer for them to come through than they had done before. So yeah.
Now I know you did a talk, didn't you, at my Monday motivation group, and you sort of gave us all a video to watch on how to check your breasts and things.
That's
and
right.
I have to be really honest with you. I mean, I think you did a talk a few weeks back now, didn't you?
Yes, it is, yeah.
I still haven't checked myself, and I went to, and I don't know if this is like a common thing with women. Like, it's almost like I don't want to. It's just kind of this strange thing, and now I spoke to you again, it's going to be another reminder.
Well, actually, it's funny, I thought of you last night, because the ladies that I met when I was going through breast cancer, one of the things we always say is feel it on the first, because it has a little bit of a rhythm to it. You're a singer, so you'll get that, feel it on the first. And last night I was like, oh, I've got Anna Marie tomorrow. Oh no, I should have sent her a message today to say it's feel it on the first. So
okay.
That's the kind of thing, and it's something I see quite a lot of it on Instagram, but I don't see it on LinkedIn. And it's one of those things I'm thinking I might actually start putting it a little bit minder on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Going, it's the first ladies and men, because men can get breast cancer as well. Feel it on the first. I just think if we just kept sort of kind of that little message as well would help.
Yeah, and maybe just like setting a reminder. I guess I could set a reminder in my phone, couldn't I? That just repeats every month. Check, because like you say, it's so easy for a year to go by. It's so easy to put things off, and then a year's gone, and the older you get, the faster time's going.
I know. Tell me about it. And I just think this is the age for checking is so old. I mean, the age is not old, don't get me wrong, it's 50, but to have to wait until we're 50 to have our breasts checked, and everybody I've known who's had breast cancer, majority of them being under 50.
Yeah, my auntie had it, and she died in her early 40s. So
and
and I'm not far off 40. Yeah.
Yeah, we need to bring it earlier.
Yeah.
As a thing anyway, and I still think 40 is needs to be earlier than that. But you know, it's that thing of we do need to, you know, bring it earlier.
I am going to check my boobs tonight, I promise.
I'm going to check with you tomorrow.
Yes. Say, Anna, have you done it? So Louise, obviously, you know, after your ordeal of going through that, which sounds flipping awful and scary, something else happened to you, didn't it? Just to kind of pile on more poo to the situation.
Yes. So I had my first chemo, and I think my body went, oh, this is too easy for you. I had stomach ache a week after the first chemo, and to cut the long story short, the week I was due to have my second chemo, I was diagnosed with appendicitis. And because obviously I just thought the pain I was in was chemo related, it was quite bad. So it was all in an abscess, so it's all stuck to my bowel and my colon, and so it's borderline what they call peritonitis. And instead of doing keyhole, they had to do major emergency surgery. So I have a huge scar, about 6-inch scar on my stomach. And I was in intensive care for 48 hours, had to have a blood transfusion, and my hair was falling out. So, yeah.
How did you, you know, life doesn't like to give you one thing, does it? It's usually three. This is what I think most people say. Yeah. Now, obviously, you said sort of prior to this, you'd had sort of episodes of depression and anxiety anyway. How the hell did you get through that? I mean, were there times where you literally thought you couldn't go on?
There was only one time, and it was before I was diagnosed with the appendicitis, and it was when we now know was when my appendix burst. But obviously at the time, we, you know, when I say we, I say family, because obviously that's who were called when I was in agony. We just thought it was side effects of the chemo. That's what we just thought it was. And I didn't have a temperature. So, you know, they weren't calling me back in to say, oh, that doesn't sound right. There was just once, and I just said to my eldest nephew, who happened to be here, and I just said, I don't think I can do this. And he went, oh, yes, you can. And I knew he was the only person at the time I could say that to, because everybody else would have been, oh, we knew she won't be able to cope. So all the negative kind of voices and consciences would have been there. But he was the only one I knew I could say that to. And he was like, yeah, you can. And if you can't, you phone me and I'll be giving you what for. So that was nice. I think it was that thing of, I'm not ready to die yet. I think that was the kind of conversation I had with myself. But also, I think it was all of a sudden, when I was diagnosed with the cancer, I could get away with anything. And I, being that in the funny space, I could, all of a sudden, it felt like I could be me. And I have to say that going through that whole process, even after appendicitis, that I was so relaxed and I was so happy and content in myself, because I was allowed to be me. And it's really sad that I could say that I was allowed to be me, but there was nobody going, oh, you shouldn't do this and you shouldn't do that. It was like, you can't say anything because she's going through cancer. And it's like, well, if you can't say anything because I'm going through cancer, what makes you think you can say anything any other time in my life? And that was the key thing. And one of the key things for me was, because I was in hospital when I lost my hair, I got used to seeing myself bald, and I got some scarves, and I even bought a wig, which I called Winifred. And when I left the hospital after appointment, because I had an infection in my wounds, that was the third thing, the infection in my wounds, I had to have a vacuum pack.
Oh, so you did get 3, yeah.
Yeah, I did get 3. Yeah, of course did. I had an infection in my wound, and they had to open me up, so I was going around with an open wound. So yeah.
Nice. You can't write it, could you?
No, you couldn't. And of course, so I had this vacuum pack. So you couldn't see it. The vacuum pack was there and I put my arm like this because it was a bag. It was like in this bag, so I carried it around with me to get the badness out, so we could start what I call back on the chemo train. We were leaving an appointment, and my mum said to me, we were waiting for my dad because of course I couldn't drive. I think you ought to start wearing your wig. And I said, why? She said, well, all the children are looking at you. And I went, we're outside a hospital. Of course they're going to stare. That's what children do going in a hospital. They go, what's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? And my dad, for whatever reason, took a different route home, and we went along the seafront. So I live in Western-super-Mare, went on the seafront. And as we did that, there was a lady walk along bold. And I thought, well, if she's doing that, why can't I do that? I mean, I was anyway. So that was it. I was going to do the rest of the everything bold until it grew back. And yeah, and it was just, I just found this belief. But I think other people found a belief in me they didn't see beforehand. Yeah. And that was the thing. It was when my mum said to me, you've handled this a lot better than I thought you would. And I was like, well, that's your perception. You don't know how you're going to handle it until you're in it. And I think that's the thing. And that's, for me, has been so important. It's about, you can be who you are. It's okay to be you.
Yeah.
And I don't want people to waste the years that I've wasted, which was quite a bit of my 30s and probably going into my 40s,
Yeah.
where I would say, I remember what I did for work. I cannot tell you what I did for enjoyment, for fun, and everything else. And I don't want other people to waste years by not believing in themselves.
Yeah. So sort of the experience just really just got rid of your inhibitions, and you're just like, yeah, screw it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And yeah, that's where I am.
What I really liked, what I picked up on just now as well, what you said is, I think that thing, isn't it, when you're having a really awful time, like sometimes all you need is just someone to say, come on, you can do this, like that's it, or you're going to be okay, or you know, you're going to get through this. I think it is as simple as that, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Someone who really means it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think for my nephew at the time, and I know what you know, he was in the army at the time, and you know, he's been to Afghanistan, he did, you know, took tours, for him to look at me and say, you can do this, and I go, well, yeah, I know what you've been through.
Yes.
You know. Yes. So yeah, it was like a bit of a thing.
Yeah. And I guess, you know, with your work as a coach and a speaker, it's, I guess, having been through that, you can bring so much empathy to people who are going through awful times, and you know how it feels, and yes. what gift now that you bring to people.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I hope so. Yeah, that's my intention anyway, is to say to them, you know, you can go through it. I mean, even earlier on, someone was messaging me, she goes, I just want someone to say it's going to be okay. And I went, it'll be fine. And even walking through the park earlier on, there was a tree. I mean, we haven't had really bad weather, but there was a tree, and some of the branch had fallen down. It was on the path, and I just thought, we need to remind ourselves. I know it's sensitive, but with nature, the tree is still living, even though something is falling off. Part of the branch is, you know, and it can't be repaired. It's not going to get that branch back, but it's still going to stand there strong, and it's still going to grow, and it's still going to, you know, blossom. And I think sometimes we are going to do that. That's what we do.
Yeah, definitely. And like you say, no matter how dark it is, you will come out the other side eventually.
Absolutely.
It doesn't always feel like it though, does it? I mean, I can't even imagine, you know, I can't even imagine what it's like to go through what you've been through. But, you know, I think I've had dark times as well. And it can feel like you're never going to come out the other side.
Yeah. I think for me, cancer was easier to deal with than the depression.
Really?
Yeah.
And whoa, seriously?
Seriously, the cancer was easier for me to deal with than depression. The reason being, someone else diagnosed it. Someone else told me what the treatment plan was. So they would tell me what the likely side effects were going to be. They told me how long it was going to last. So you were on this train, you know, right, you're going to have 6 chemos, and then you're going to have your Herceptin injections, and it will hurt with this, and you might find this side effect. But when you're going into depression, no one can tell you how long that's going to last. You know, and nobody else knows what that's like, because that's yours. Yeah. I mean, everybody's cancer is different. Everybody's reaction to cancer is different, but there's so many people that have gone through it, they can tell you. But with depression, because it's inside of you and it's only you, it's harder. And that was my experience. That was what I say is cancer.
Gosh, that's really interesting, Louise. Gosh, that's so interesting to hear. So I'm just, if there is anyone listening to the podcast at the moment who is having a really awful time, I keep wanting to use the SHIT word, but I realise I can't.
Yeah.
There would have been loads more swearing on this if I could. What would you say to them?
Just be kind to yourself. And I think that's the thing, is be kind to yourself. Just take that time out by yourself and just think about how strong you've been before when things have happened, and do things that are right for you. I mean, there's a lot of people can say, do this, do that, the other. You know, if you need to be signposted to somewhere, you know, the McMilan nurses. I mean, there's a great, if someone's going for cancer, there's a great cancer retreat kind of place where they do holistic stuff near me, called Penny Brawn, just on the outskirts of Bristol, where I went, is absolutely brilliant. But that thing is about just being true to you and just taking it one step at a time, and just writing things down that you want to do and go and do them. You know, it's that kind of thing. And and you will get through it. Yeah. Believe in yourself, because we're all stronger than we think we are. And we will get through it.
Oh,
and I think sometimes it's knowing who you can go and talk to, because you know there's people in your life you'll talk to, and they'll start telling you what it is you need to do. You need to do this, you need to do that, you should do this. They're not the right people. You just want someone to go, okay, anything else I can help you with? And they go, no, and go, right, okay. Even if it's just a hug,
Yeah.
you know, that's the thing.
Yeah. It's the little things, isn't it? It's always the
Yeah.
little things.
Yeah, absolutely. Go to the people you know are right for you. Yeah.
Oh, Louise, it's so nice to talk to you. Thank you so much for coming on the
That's
podcast.
okay.
Right, I'm going to fire off my 10 questions now that I fire
Okay.
off to everyone. So the first one is, what's been your favourite moment of today so far?
Favorite moments today. I've really enjoyed talking to you. It's really nice to talk to you and just sort of get that energy. I'm really feeling the energy from it. And even just today with chatting to the people from the networking I did, there were 6 of us. And I think sometimes that's I just think being around people is really good. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And tell us about a favourite nature spot that you go to.
Oh, so I'm very lucky that I have a park at the bottom of my road, which starts going up a hill. And just around there is a bench, just so it looks over sort of the town and top of the Mendips. And that is, for me, is one of my favourite spots, is just so I can just walk there and just sit there in the park on the bench and just look out. It's really nice.
Okay. What's your favourite hot drink?
Oh, do you know, I have not drank hot drinks since lockdown. I don't know. I just
Really?
stopped drinking. I've had a couple of hot coffees and teas now that I've been sort of out a bit more, but I've just been drinking water. So I fluctuate from decaf coffee and decaf tea, but I mainly drink water. I don't really drink a lot of hot drinks.
Oh, that's so healthy. I've done the opposite. I've gone from not drinking any tea and coffee to being on it all day, and I think it's really not good for me.
Well, you wait till winter comes, and I'm like not put my heating on yet, and I'll be like,
yeah.
Well,
Well, it is, because it's like sort of a cuddle, isn't it? I always think a hot drink.
It is, yeah.
All right. Best piece of advice that you've ever been given?
There's 2 really. One is to remember that we're all unique. There's never another one like you, so to be true to you. And the other one is to keep asking yourself before you say yes to anything, is this going to nourish me or is it going to deplete me? Because if it's going to deplete me, is it worth me going?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, they're both really good ones, but the second one's been quite a reoccurring theme with conversations with people recently about saying no, and actually that being okay to say no to someone, because I think so often we don't want to reject people if we get invited out or we're really busy, and it's just learning to be confident, is it, and saying, well, actually I'm really busy this week, or I'll check in a couple of weeks, or just getting really honest.
And not have to give a reason.
Yeah.
You don't have to give it. Just say, I did that at the weekend. I was like, I can't make it. Sorry. And that was it.
I know. And sometimes I say I'm busy, but it's when I say I'm busy, it's actually I'm just busy being alone, just needing my own space.
Absolutely.
And sometimes you just need that, don't you?
You do. You definitely do.
Cool. Good reminder on that one. Thank you. A standout person from your life and why?
Oh, I've been asked this so many times, and it's really tricky because there's quite a few people in my life that have done some great things, and they always just seem to kind of bounce back. I mentioned earlier my nephew, and the fact that he was a soldier, and he was actually a Scots Guard, so he did all the pomp and circumstance as well as the war. But also my younger sister, always seems to bounce back from things, and her daughter. So her daughter was premature. So, she's been prodded and poked, but she just seems to defy everything they say. You won't be very good at sports. Well, she was swimming for the local team, and she just has this real good thing about her of going, well, why can't I do that? So she always kind of reminds me of that. I think that helped with cancer, actually, to see what she'd gone through and how strong she is to go. And actually, I've got to set an example here as well.
Okay, thank you. A standout book and why?
Oh, so I'm really bad with books. Well, I'm really good reading books, but when it comes to sort of fiction, I'm read loads. But when it comes to development books, I'm a bit of a butterfly, where I pick one up and then I put it back, and I pick one up and I put it back. So I don't always read one. But one of the books I read which really stood out for me was the Katie Piper book, which is about her story, which is called Beautiful. And it was just because I think it had the photos in there as well of what she had gone through. I just think she's a remarkable lady. To tell us about the story, what she was going through, and something big happened there, and how she fought through that, I just think is remarkable. And it's one actually I've put on my list to reread again, because I haven't read it for a couple of years.
Did you read that while you were going through a bad time?
No, I read that before, actually. I read it before, and I got it when I wanted her affirmation. She did 365 days of affirmation. I wanted that book, and it came with it. And I read it before, and Yeah, and I think that sometimes when you read things like, and you go through things like anxiety, depression, you kind of just think it's you being silly, but actually it's not. So when you read that, you kind of understand how she, yeah, it makes sense.
Okay. Standout film and why?
Again, I take little bits from films. There's never one film. Perhaps I don't watch enough films and keep watching the old. I'm very much into old films, like the golden age of Hollywood. So I tend to watch quite a few of them. So there's not one film, but I do tend to listen to and watch a few podcasts. So if I could tell you something, the two people that I've watched a lot of the podcasts from, one is Mel Robbins, who I came across in her 5-second rule, which I think is just absolutely brilliant. And I came across watching some of Lewis Howes. I came across Kobe Bryant. I don't know if you've met. Kobe Bryant was a basketball player who passed away earlier on this year in a helicopter crash. And but I came across him sort of about October last year, so I didn't know him as a basketball player. But just listening to his podcasts and some of the things that he was saying about practice and getting out there and doing things, and and both of them really just getting on and just do what's right and just get on and do it. It's just been really key. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I've seen Mel's 5-second rule. Does that work for you then? Do you do the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go?
Yeah.
And it works?
Yes, it does. Yeah.
Okay.
I've done it a couple of times. Yeah, it does. Yeah. So it's morning when it's horrible, when it's raining outside, you go, I've got to get up and do my exercise. You go, oh, right, okay, now and do it. And sometimes when you reread an email and you go, right, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, send, and it's gone, because you keep procrastinating. If you keep procrastinating, you're never going to get anywhere. And that's the thing, I think, where Mel's thing works is overcoming that procrastination.
Yeah. Oh, I might need to try that. I had that yesterday, because I'm doing a talk at a group next month, and he said, oh, can you send through your blurb? I was like, yeah, I'll do it later. And I thought, no, Anna, do it now and send it, and it's done. And I did force it out of myself, but there was that feeling of wanting to put it off.
Yes. Yeah.
So yeah, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Yeah. Checking your breasts. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Oh, yeah, that's going to be me tonight. My landlady's just going to keep hearing me going 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 all the time now. All right.
It was bring the chocolate bar out, but you're probably too young to remember the chocolate bar.
The chocolate bar?
There was a chocolate bar we had years ago that said 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and literally the advert had the chocolate bar in, and they used to bring their fingers up, so it said 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Really?
Yeah. Oh. I don't know what happened to that chocolate bar, but it was a nice one.
Yeah, sounds cool. All right. A song that you would have at your funeral?
Yeah, it took me a little while because I can kind of be a little bit dark with my humour.
Dark humour's good. We like dark humour.
I said this to my mum the other day, she said, "Oh no, I don't think so." And I was like, "Oh, actually, it is a little bit too dark." But when I usually go out on a date and I break, it kind of ends, I always come in the house and I sing the Queen's song, "Another One Bites the Dust." So I was thinking that would be a good song at the funeral. But I thought that might not go down too well. So the one actually I think is really good is Reach by Harriet. And I don't know if you've heard it at all.
No, I haven't.
So it's the S Club 7 song Reach.
Oh, it is? Okay.
It is. But Harriet's version it just gives the whole song a totally different meaning. Ooh. So S Club 7, you hear the song and you're on the dance floor reaching, but actually when she does her version, she sounds a little bit like Karen Carpenter.
Ooh,
I got a friend to listen to it, and she went, "That's Karen Carpenter." I went, "No, it can't be," because it's a newer song. And so yeah, when you listen to it, it really does. It talks about someone reaching out for somebody, and that's,
without the cheesiness of S Club 7.
So yeah, and I listen to it, and I'm just it's just brilliant.
Oh, I'm gonna check that out later. And I love your Another One Bites the Dust. I do that. Literally, I'm like, oh yeah, Another One Bites the Dust. Bye.
Yeah. I come in the house and I look afterwards and I'm like,
yeah. Oh, well, here's me thinking I was so original.
You're just quirky like me.
Yay, good. All right, so I'm going to give you a scenario now, and I'd like you to tell me what you do. So yeah, you begin to feel really anxious, that state that you start going into where you might be reactive towards someone or do something a little bit destructive. What's the first thing you do when you start to feel like that?
If I'm on my own in the house, I set my kitchen timer. So I hide my phone upstairs out the way. I set my kitchen timer for an hour and I have what I call timeout. And literally, I will sit in the lounge. If I've got that nervous energy, I'll make myself cry, because I think that releases a lot of those negative endorphins. I might just lie there. I might do some colouring in, although mindfulness kind of things. But once that smoke alarm, it might be kitchen time has gone off. That's it. I've got to move on. So it's literally about just taking that time out, just to re-engage with myself and just have that little bit of self-care. If I'm anywhere else, then it's just breathing. It's just literally just concentrate on my breathing in, and just relaxing my body through the breathing, and doing some EFT, which I've started doing recently. So just that positive affirmations in my head.
Yeah. Oh, I really like that, because a lot of the sort of common answers are the breathe thing, but I liked what you said about you set the timer and then just cry if you need to, just get it out, because it's so. Talking to my sister about this, there's something bothering me recently, and I was like, I'm not going to let this get to me, and so I decided to hold it in. I was like, I'm not going to let this get, and then I was like, I really need to let this out and have a cry, and I didn't want to. So it's almost like you're getting that out the way straight away.
Absolutely. And I think sometimes because we hold it in, it just, and also what you're going to do is you're going to burst. And I know I have on occasions. I've burst and said things, and it's nothing to do with what's happened. It's just I've just had this nervous energy or been overtired or whatever, and it's the thing, sometimes just take that time out, and I'll make myself, but there's nothing wrong with crying.
Just release it, like you say, it gets it out, doesn't it? It gets the toxins out. It's like emotional toxins, like clearing them out.
Absolutely. There's a brilliant quote I saw once that said, you think something about being weak when I cry, but actually it stops you from thumping you. I was like, it is that kind of thing. I'm not crying because I'm upset, it's stopping me from thumping you. And I'm not a violent person, but it just resonated with me.
Oh, I love that. That's great. All right. And lastly, do you have a challenge for the listeners?
I do. This is a challenge that I do as part of my coaching workshops that I've done. And I used to be a Girl Guide leader years ago, and it's something I did with the guides once. This is to write yourself a letter. Find a nice, pretty note card or a nice pretty paper, and write yourself a letter telling you how amazing you are, to how good things are, and telling yourself what it is you'd like to achieve, perhaps in a few months' time. And then give that card to a friend and ask them to post it to you in a few months' time. And it's got to be a friend you can trust that's not going to forget. Well, I do it when my coaching program, I've got them all, and I post them out to the attendees afterwards. But then you get 3 months later, you get a nice card out of the blue through the post, and it's got a nice pretty card in it, and then you go, oh, who's that from? And then of course you open it up, it's all these nice words, and it's from yourself, and it's just a reminder to you, and it's just such a nice thing to do, and it's private, so nobody else can read it.
I think that's a really lovely task. Thank you for that.
Okay.
Thank you so much for chatting to me today.
Thank you for inviting me. It's been fun.
It has been really fun. Is there anything else that you feel that you haven't said that you would like to say?
I don't think so. I just think to everybody, just remember to be themselves. You're brilliant as you are. Be unique to you, and just make sure you enjoy every moment of your life. I mean, we're all going to get caught up as time comes, but know what works for you in order to overcome them. And you always learn. You never lose. You always learn from everything you go through.
Thank you. And how can people find you if they want to find more out about your coaching and your speaking?
Okay, so I've got a website which is louisemcmillan.co.uk, and just the spelling of my Macmillan is really weird, so it's spelled like MC Milan, so there's only one L in it. So have a look on there, and then you can get all the links to connect with me on LinkedIn, Facebook, and even Instagram. So all my links are on there, and there's an opportunity there for you to get in touch at the bottom.
Excellent. And a message as well, everyone, check your boobies tonight.
Yes. Yeah, feel it on the first.
Yes.
And you men, because men can get breast cancer as well as women. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you. What are you heading off to do now?
So I've got a client later on about 4:30, so I'm just going to take a little bit of time out and just check on a few things admin wise, and then get ready for my client at 4:30.
Oh, well, I hope it goes well. It's so nice to talk to you.
And you, and I'll see you again soon.
Take care.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.